Hi, welcome to a very chaotic train of thought about something that I've been meaning to talk about for a very long time. This topic is very near and dear to my heart, and also it relates to my life so much. I want to talk about how the sexism ingrained in today's societies will always see and portray women-like behavior as something bad and that should be avoided. In other words, I will be talking today about how women can't enjoy anything. This video is based on articles and different resources. They will all be linked down below. I'll be quoting some of them here, so make sure to check all the links down below so you can see where my quotes are coming from. But I am also including my own opinion and putting some of personal stories forth to explain some of the examples I have. So a little disclaimer before we start. Some parts of this video will be seen from a very binary lens in terms of gender. Since some of my main arguments are based on the idea of femininity and masculinity that are so ingrained in the society we live in. And yes, that is very old school and not intersectional, but it is a must so I can put into perspective the issues I have with how society treats women and men in completely different ways and how the media has a huge role and impact on that. But we will talk more about intersectional topics later on the video. Just a disclaimer that even though I'm speaking a lot about femininity and masculinity as polar opposites, I'm coming from the media perspective and the media and the way media portrays those things. Gender is a spectrum, and there's no such thing as what is a real woman, what is a real man, and what is whatever is in between. So that is what I want to make sure. But the media makes us think that there is such a thing as being a man and a woman, and there as if there was a right way to do it. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. Before we get into the situation itself, I feel the need to explain some important concepts that will have a huge impact in what we are discussing here. Let's talk about commercial targeting. All right, you might relate to commercial targeting to the more modern concept of targeted advertising, where softwares track your activity in order to advertise things it thinks you might buy. Or as Michael Bailey from Stanford put in one of his papers, targeted advertising is the type of advertising methods that deliver individually catered advertisements based upon the content of the website, location of the user, browsing history, demographics, the user profile, or any other available information. In more simple words, it's like you go to Amazon and look for snow boots. And you browse for a bit, put things in your cart, take them out, you browse for a lot of snow boots, but you don't buy anything. And later on, you're on, Twitter, and out of nowhere, a snow boots ad just shows up. Basically is the software tracking website usage so it knows what you're looking for and it's like pushing to you this, oh, look at these snow boots are 50% off, whatever. And TikTok is a great example of that too, like how our For You page seems to be so grafted to us. It's just targeted advertising. Even though people are not advertising anything on TikToks, their content is so crafted to us. That's all due to an algorithm, as Michael Bailey put on. That's the basic concept of target advertising, right? But for the purpose of this video, we will be talking about specific kind of targeted advertising. Instead of one that is specific catered to you, we'll be talking about the kind that is targeted towards a specific audience, let's say, or public, a specific group, not individual. Like how things are targeted differently for socioeconomic groups, or different ages, or different religions, different cultures, and even different genders. That's a concept I really want to explain to you guys. Even before the boom of social media, these things were happening. For example, if you walk across New York City, the ads of jewelry stores, they increase the closer you get to Fifth Avenue. And the advertised price of water changes from the Bronx to Manhattan. That's for socioeconomic issues, and that's the form of target advertising and target commercializing. And just based on socioeconomic groups. Another example of how these things were big even before millennials and Gen Zs like myself had total control over social media. What I remember is when I was watching shows that were directed to, girls, were the ones that are usually, have women as their main character. Those are the ones that are usually targeted towards women. Shows such, Hannah Montana, Shake It Up, or My Little Pony, or Barbie, or whatever. Ads in between those shows, they were for products that were targeted towards girls, which were Barbies and mermaids and girl shoes and those cute, little dolls, whatever. Because My Little Pony was on, the commercials and the ads in between the show, they were all targeted toward girls. So advertising girly products, if we can put it that way. So things that are pink, or things that are about, motherhood, like baby dolls, or things that are like kitchen related, because that's the idea that society has on women. So those things. When I didn't have cable, I would watch whatever was on TV. And in the morning, they would alternate between more girly shows and more boyish shows. I remember so clearly how all the Hot Wheels and the Max Steel dolls were always in between Justice League and Super Shock. There would never be an advertising for Hot Wheels when My Little Pony was on. Never, ever. Because these big companies, they assume that girls don't like playing with Hot Wheels, and no girls will be watching Justice League, right? That's not girly enough. So a girl wouldn't ask their parents for Hot Wheels. They would rather ask their parents for a doll. So that's also a type of group targeted advertising. It's a weird pattern, but a real one. Because you would now think these shows are targeted to any kid. Any kid can watch My Little Pony. Any kid can watch Justice League. I don't think that's on anymore, but it was, whatever. But that's not how capitalism works. Capitalism needs to target things specifically so it gets economy rolling. Very fun. But unfortunately, I don't have any concrete evidence of that. So that's just from personal experience. So let's stick more to concrete evidence. Let's turn into a more reliable topic in regards to that, if I could say so. Something that is not only very close to me, but there are varied resources we can rely on for that. Let's talk about how boy bands, or just male celebrities in general, are groomed by the media to be enjoyed by young girls, which in a sense, it's not bad, and it wouldn't be a big deal if society wasn't such a prick when it comes to anything women like. So from the Beatles to One Direction, from Elvis to Justin Bieber, the binary lenses of the capitalist society we live in always targets women and men differently, especially young women, and tends to scrutinize young women for enjoying things that are targeted to us. Or we're also scrutinized if we don't enjoy the things that are targeted to us, or if any person that enjoys something out of what is targeted to them will also be criticized. There's a very, very fine line here, and it's about not being a white, straight, cis male who enjoys what is targeted to them. In 2014, the journalist Hannah Ewens, she wrote a book called Fangirls. And the book where she talks about the music industry all the way, from the Beatles to Justin Bieber. And she also discusses how the term fangirl was created and is used today and also back in the day as a derogatory term. And she wanted to understand why people did that. However, Ysabel Gerrard from the sociology department of the University of Sheffield in the UK goes into even more depth about the term and how it came to be. And she finds that this comes all the way back to the early 90s and the term groupie. She quoted a few early 90s feminists saying that the term groupie was criticized because it was a heteronormative term used to devalue female music fans who seemed to be more interested in pursuing sexual relations with male musicians than their musical talents. And she further highlights how the term fangirl came from a generational discrepancy over a group of women fans to the other. Fangirls is a discourse that is commonly used to devalue young and feminine fans, fandoms, and behaviors. So, yeah. In Fangirls, Ewens did bring forward some sociology and gender study professors, but what drew me into her book even more is the fact that she brought forward fans to give testaments in her book. Because in my opinion, there's no better expert in any subject than the subject itself. Not in an academic way, of course, but in a I experienced certain thing firsthand type of way. I don't know if that makes sense. I hope it does. And an interesting thing brought up in the book is how self-aware fangirls are of their fangirl behavior. And I can say that for myself. I am very much capable of distinguishing my own fangirl behavior or the fangirl behavior of the fandoms I am in better than the people that are not in it. And to prove that even further, some of the critics she brought up in the book and that I went to search for this video are, for example, Paul Johnson, who in 1964 wrote an article that described the female Beatle fans as the dull, the idle, and the failures, just because they were scandalous and hysteric. Just because they were more scandalous and hysteric than the male Beatles fans. And this proves a researcher called Melissa Click's point when she pointed out, unlike regular fans, fangirls' behavior is pathologized with a usage of Victoria-era gender words such as fever, madness, hysteria, and obsession. Men tend to call women that are passionate about something hysterical or obsessed mad. Those are very Victorian European, as Click said, and it just doesn't go with the vibe of the world of today. Ewens, the writer of the book Fangirls, in her own TED Talk, even compares how the love of young girls for Justin Bieber to the idolization of football players by young men is seen by society as something drastically different. As if one was more legit than the other simply because one is targeted to the norm, which is straight, white, cis men, and the other is targeted to young women. To quote Melissa Click again, despite 3 decades of influential feminist research, scholars continue to fight the persistent cultural assumption that male-targeted texts are authentic and interesting, while female-targeted texts are schlocky and mindless. And further that, men and boys are active users of media, while girls are passive consumers. Which means that women are always seen as less, no matter what we do. Even more younger women. We are seen often by older women as like not as crazy because we're passionate about something. We can't win. That brings me to one other point that I wanted to make with this media targeting topic is how men and boys that don't like the things that are targeted to them, such as I don't know, being a successful businessman and sports, I don't know. Those boys are seen as outcasts and as weird. Even more is the things they like are primarily targeted to women. So if they like things like dolls and pink, they are seen as weird and outcasts because they don't conform, because the form is male, cis, heterosexual, and that is not targeted to them. And we just see the homophobia and the toxic masculinity jumping out because as a homophobic society, we see men that like other men as feminine, and every feminine behavior is doomed. And boys who like to play dolls or like to listen, I don't know, to One Direction are labeled as gay in the most derogatory way possible, simply because they don't conform to the heteronormative norm of enjoying things that are strictly targeted to them. I will use one example of my own life again because I think it does draw my point very well. So my cousin, he traveled to Barcelona and he went to a soccer tournament. He's a huge soccer fan and he's a huge Barcelona fan. He was very excited. He went, had a great time. When he came back, he was talking to us and he said, "Oh no, I didn't want to stay to take pictures with the players or talk to the players because that's teenage girl behavior." And when he was talking to us, he seemed generally so regretful because his friends stayed and talked to the players, took pictures with them, had fun, and he was held back by not being seen as a teenage girl, as having teenage girl behavior, because he felt he would be less of a man somehow if he was seen taking pictures with athletes that he enjoyed. So his own internalized toxic masculinity made him discard a great opportunity. And this is very current in many families, I'm sure, but in mine happens every day. A more mainstream and palpable example is that it's not from personal experience, I mean, and it's a little bit different from what my cousin went through, of course. It's in episode 10 of season 6 of RuPaul's Drag Race, which is a reality TV show about drag queens. The drag queens had a challenge of doing a makeover of a groom and dress them up as a bride. So, just making their hair, putting wigs on and putting pumps on. I don't know. Most of the men were fine and they were having fun with the activity, but one of them got incredibly emotional and left in the middle of the judging panel. RuPaul, the host of the show, asked him what was happening, and to which he responded that his masculinity was being questioned. And RuPaul then asks him who was questioning his masculinity. And the guy then, who is a black basketball player, said that this was not being questioned at the moment, but it would be questioned eventually by his teammates and his community. This instance made me take a step back and see that this constant bad-mouthing about how what women like or girl-like behavior harms men and people that are not gender conforming, as well as it harms women. It harms everyone that doesn't conform to what is targeted to them. So going back to a previous point I quickly made, I'm sure we heard from, either a family member. If you come from an immigrant family, I'm sure you've heard this, or a non-liberal family, I guess. Sometimes liberal families too, but there's always someone who's saying bad things. Or someone that guy in your high school history class. Anyway, those people are always saying that gay men are not real men because they like other men. And that is not masculine behavior, but instead that is behavior that is directly connected with straight women. And that's bad, because it's women behavior. Anything that is slightly connected with women is seen as bad. So you are not enough of a man if you like other men, because that is feminine behavior. Also seen as less of a woman are the women that don't conform to the feminine behavior and are seen as less of a woman simply because for liking other women or not liking men-targeted hobbies, or liking men-targeted hobbies. Is there a way to win in society if you're not straight, wild, and cis, and a man? I don't think there is. To go further into this vision of what is women like or men like is so incredibly harmful to non-binary people and trans people as well, because it's just this endless cycle of patronizing gender norms that does no one no good, not even those who conform. Because if they stray away from the norm, they are suddenly outcast and they're suddenly scrutinized by society. Not even women and trans folks that conform to gender norms are taken seriously. Like, trans people, given the transphobic society we live in, can never be enough. I'm not trans myself, so I'm referring to an article from the Trans Hub. People that go all into gender norms as trans women, as for example, trans women having long hair and wearing skirts, are still seen by bigots and uneducated people and even official government documents as not women enough. To quote the Trans Hub, these norms are so harmful and contribute to people's doubts around gender dysphoria. So this is not good. The way the things are targeted to such a binary lenses is so harmful. To bring more and my own experience to this, and the reason why I wanted to do this, as a cis woman who mostly conforms to gender norms, even though I am a queer woman, I still enjoy things that are targeted to me, and I am still heavily criticized even by other older women for it. Being young, enjoying a boy band and wearing pink somehow makes me less mature of a human being to other people, especially to men, as if taking pleasure in childish activities, which, by the way, are usually just pop culture products that are targeted towards young women, as we said in the beginning, somehow takes, I don't know, all my ideas and my opinions away from me, and anything I say should be considered as hormonal kid talk. That is incredibly frustrating. Having my own mother and father not taking me seriously because I enjoy colorful things or I like teddy bears, and it's just so annoying. And I cannot begin to imagine how it is to racialized folks or to trans people when they don't conform to these things, how many rocks in the way there still is. It's incredibly frustrating to not be taken seriously simply because you enjoy things that are girly. It sucks. So my conclusion is women can't like anything. We can't like anything without being criticized by our society and by each other. If we enjoy video games and football, we're pick-me girls. When we're doing it for attention, or we must be gay and masculine for enjoying such boy-targeted things. If we're girly or like doing our makeup, we're superficial and fake. If we like cooking and cleaning, we're conforming too much. If we don't do those things, we're not really real women. If we like pop music, we're immature and crazy. If our hair is colored, it's because we must want attention. There's no way to win unless you are a straight, cis, white man who enjoys things that are targeted towards straight men. We need to remember what feminism really is and what we are fighting for it to become. Feminism is about women's and people's right to choose. And we are heading towards a more intersectional view and towards equality and equity as the world around us changes so much. But there's so much left to do. And the constant scrutinizing of young girls by the media and as outcome, society does no one any good except gender-conforming white straight cis men. And toxic masculinity is also a problem to conforming straight white cis men who compose one of the highest suicide rates among all identities. The idea that boys can't cry is so toxic. And the idea that girls only cry because they are hormonal, just because girls cry, boys can cry because that is too feminine, helps no one. The media is not helping anyone by keeping these binary lenses. The groups of people that criticize young girls for being passionate about something are not helping anyone. The groups of people that scrutinize other men for liking things that are targeted towards women are not helping anyone. And people that are non-gender conforming are stuck in a cycle that is impossible to complete, and we need to change that. I hope I made myself clear. Thank you so much for watching this. Everything that I cited and used as reference is down below. There are 3 major scholar papers that I used. They are really good. You should definitely read them. I have a few articles, and I also have the TED Talk that I mentioned in the beginning by Hannah Ewens. So yeah, be a better person. Don't criticize people for liking things. Let people enjoy things as long as they are not harming anyone. Okay? Okay. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.